Today, I studied 3 Kanye West songs to figure out how he makes such great drums, while in his own words,
my drums are actually my Achilles heel.
And what I found is the easiest sample-based method to start making great drums instantly. So today, we'll look at 3 of my Kanye West remakes, learning his secret drum technique along the way, and finishing with my own sample beat. So let's start with Kanye West crack music. And so, okay, what is this secret technique that I'm talking about? And so basically, this secret technique is drum breaks. But wait, trust me, the implementation here is way more important than you think. So we can't just slap a looped drum break onto your beat and call it a day. There is actually 3 very important parts you need to pay attention to in your drum break. And I'll be revealing them one by one with each remake, so it's as simple as possible to understand. And so the first part is rhythm. So let's actually take a look at this crack music remake. At the top here we have the sample, and at the bottom we have the drum break. For now I'm just gonna grab this sample and I'm gonna copy it to the side. And so this sample is called Since You Came in My Life, and chopped up it sounds like this. And so Kanye, for this beat, sampled this drum break called It's Your Thing by Cold Grits. It's a pretty cool drum break by itself, but the problem is that if we layer it with our sample, even if I were to match the tempos of them, it simply just does not match our sample rhythmically. And so we actually have 2 ways to fix this. Which one is pretty simple, it's just choose a drum break that actually matches our sample's rhythm. But 2 is actually what Kanye West did here, so we can fix the drum break by chopping it up. And so here we got the chopped up part, and if we actually look at this, Kanye actually went pretty much all out chopping up this drum break because, well, there is quite a lot of chops here, but just take a look at how much better this chopped up version matches our sample rhythmically. So there's quite a lot of going on here, and it's pretty confusing what's happening. But if we actually take a look at it, there's mainly just few parts that are repeating. So one of the repeating patterns is this first kick at the beginning here. So let me just color it in. Another repeating pattern is this like snare roll. So this chop actually gets repeated quite a lot. Another thing is just this snare one shot that actually gets repeated twice here. And then we got this little chop right here. That's simply just, again, repeating through a huge part of this beat. And so you can see that for a huge part, we're actually just repeating our chops with just a slight variation at the end of each couple of bars to just introduce some kind of movement to our loop. And by the way, if you want to gain access to this remake or any other remake I ever made, then check out Sample Academy. It's first link in the description. And so now let's take a look at my remake of Kanye West Power, and we'll move on to part 2 in a second. But first, it's very important for me that I address a real issue with drum breaks, which is that a lot of people just hate on it and they think that it isn't a real way to make drums, which I hope that by showing you all these Kanye West remakes with drum breaks, it will be enough for me to convince you that drum breaks are actually a very real and a cool way to make your drums. So drum breaks are just another skill in your toolkit to use just like any other skills. But okay, let's move on to part 2 that you need to watch out for in your drum breaks, and that is punch. So a lot of these drum breaks are old and they're recorded with MIDI microphones, and they simply might not just carry enough punch for the modern music. And that is where layering comes in. So actually here we've got my remake of Kanye West Power, and so at the top here we have the sample, then the second layer is the drum break. And funny enough, it's actually the exact same drum break Kanye West used in crack music. And so if I just play to you those 2 layers, they will sound like this together. Right, and you definitely can already recognize Power. And you can actually see that Kanye chopped up the same drum break in a different way. So that's also a thing you can do in your beats, which is just reuse drum breaks in different beats. But anyway, going back to layering our drum breaks. Now, one problem here with this loop is that it's just simply not as thick as the original song. And that's because Kanye actually took each one of those first 2 kicks here of every bar and he just layered it with an additional 808 kick. So I just grabbed this kick and literally just layered the first 2 kicks of every single bar. And this is just gonna simply let our kicks cut through way better. So you actually don't have to layer just kicks, because you can pretty much layer everything. You can layer kicks, you can layer snares, you can layer additional perks. You can just layer whatever you need to do, but it's just a very, very good and easy way to add that missing punch into your drum breaks. So let's move on to Kanye West, Runaway. And there is one last problem that you might encounter with your drum breaks, and that is the sonics of the drum breaks. And simply, they just might not fit into the sound of your beat. So I will show you my exact processing I use on most of my drums to fit them into any beat. But first, let's just look at this before and after on this drum break of Runaway. And so here for Runaway, Kanye samples this drum break called the Basement. And if I play it to you without processing, they sound okay, they sound fine, but they do not cut through the beat as much as I would want them to. And so I will just enable my processing mid-loop, so you can actually notice the difference before the processing and after, and you're gonna just be able to hear how much it actually changes. And so yeah, it just adds so much presence to the drum break. And as I promised you earlier, here is my full processing chain that I use for most of my drum breaks. And so first off, we start with a preamp. I use this universal audio preamp that I actually got for free, but realistically any preamp is good. I just push up the volume of the drum break to add a little bit of saturation to it. Next up, I use an analog clip. Once again, I use an analog clip from Ableton, but you can use whatever analog clip you want. I just use it to introduce a little bit of clipping into the drum break and just to make it warmer. And then I use a LA2A tube compressor by Universal Audio. Once again, I got this plugin for free. So what it's gonna do is it's just gonna introduce a slight 3 dB gain reduction just to squeeze the drum break together and bring out all of the colors of it out. And so yeah, to be honest, some type of variation of this chain is usually what I run all my drums through. So having learned all that, let's see what beat I'll be actually able to come up with on my own. So for this beat, I sampled this song called Siren Ballad by Blackjack, and it sounds like this. And I actually did quite a lot with it because first of all, I chopped it up and then I used stem separation to just separate the vocals out of the sample, and they're gonna sound like this.
Worthless means losing you, losing you, losing you. Worthless means losing you. Part of me will die.
The problem with this now is that they sound very dry. So what I do is I add a little bit of reverb to them and a EQ to tame some of the low end, which is just gonna fix the problem of them being extremely dry.
Worthless means losing you, losing you, losing you.
And so because I actually stem separated my vocals, that allows me to create my own bass line and my own chord progression. So here is actually the chord progression I make, and all of the chords are built on top of it. And so together, the bass of the beat is going to sound like this.
Worthless means losing you, losing you, losing you. Worthless means losing you. Part of me will die.
And now for the part that you actually came here for, the drum break. So I use this drum break called Impeach the President by Honey Drippers, and by itself it sounds like this. So right now the way it is, it's not gonna match my beat as well. So that's why I went ahead and used the point number 1 of this video. So I simply went ahead, warped my drum break to the tempo of my beat, and I chopped it up in this way so it just better matches my beat. Now, the problem with it is that it doesn't cut through as much as I would want it to, and it simply just doesn't have that punch, which that's where the point number 2 comes in. So I just grabbed this single kick and I just made this pattern layering every single one of my kicks that's in the drum break. As for the point number 3, I actually didn't do all that much with processing my drum break. I just grouped my kick with my drum break, and I used this free OTT multi-band compressor, which is just gonna add way more presence into my drum break. And so if you want to learn sampling, then check out Sample Academy. It's first link in the description, and it's truly the #1 place for you to learn sampling. So just check it out, first link in the description. And so yeah, now that you know how to make great drums like Kanye West, you should probably figure out what skill to learn next. And for that, check out this video where I rank 6 of the best and worst sampling skills to learn. And so yeah, see you there.